Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I'm here today with 10 tips to help you get out of that reading slump that's taken hold of you and just does not want to let go. First of all, what is a reading slump? A reading slump is a period in which no book seems to hold your attention. You just can't seem to find it in yourself to find a book interesting. You move from book to book. It's a reader's worst nightmare because no book has that oh my god, I love this book kind of feeling. You just want to leave that book halfway through. And for a reader, for a bookworm, it can be a very annoying thing to be in because you want to read so much, but you are not able to read so much. You are not able to focus on any particular book. That's why reading slumps are the absolute worst. But I have 10 tips for you which I hope will help you get out of your reading slumps, because they have helped me personally and I'm hoping that they will apply to you. Of course, every person is different from the next and there's no guarantee that what works for me will work for you, but I hope that you will find something in these 10 tips that will help you break out of that reading slump and get some reading done. So without any further ado, let's dive right into this video and let me share with you the 10 tips that I have applied to my life, to my reading journey, and have been able to either stop myself from falling into a reading slump or have emerged, have recovered from a reading slump. Tip number 1, and I think this is the most important one, is that please don't force yourself. If you feel like you are not able to concentrate, you're not able to read anything and you're feeling guilty about it, try not to do that, because I know that as bookworms, reading and books are such huge parts of our lives. We always tend to think that we have so much to read but we just don't find the motivation to. But maybe that's what you actually need, a break from reading. Maybe reading has become so monotonous that you just don't find it in yourself to go read, or reading slumps can hit you anytime. There doesn't have to be a reason, there doesn't have to be anything. A bad book can put you in a reading slump, a good book can put you in a reading slump, or a book hangover, any of those. So this is kind of an important thing, because if you force yourself to read, it becomes a chore, and we don't want reading to become a chore. We love reading so much that we do it on our own. We stay up late nights saying just one more chapter, just few more pages of the book. How do we go from passion to chore? If you don't want that to happen, if you're in a reading slump, don't force yourself. Just take it easy. Be patient with yourself. And in the meanwhile, maybe you can do something else. Cultivate some other hobbies, or if you have any existing hobbies, do that. Watch some TV shows. But please don't force yourself. Tip number 2, reread favorites, because that's a guaranteed way to get you back into reading, and I've applied that n number of times and I have found myself coming back from the brink of falling into a reading slump. If you reread favorites, you realize that the world that you have inhabited so far, the fictional worlds that you have inhabited so far, are so beautiful that you would want to go out there and discover more. Maybe that will rekindle your love for reading, and it will tell you why you fell in love with reading in the first place and why books are so important to you. So that's a guaranteed way to get you out of your slump and into reading more books, into motivating you into going and discovering new worlds and discovering new words as well. Tip number 3, simple. It's an easy tip. Read something easy. For example, read children's books or middle grade books or something funny, humorous books. Read graphic novels or comics or even YA. These are books that you will fly through, and if you get through these books, towards the end of the book you'll have that sense of accomplishment, and that love of reading will come back. And I'm not saying that a reading slump makes your love for reading go away. I'm just saying that it will rekindle it for you, and that is something that I have experienced, and I have done this as well. I turned to YA or I turn to graphic novels, or I turn to comics like Sarah Anderson's comics, which help me get my bearings back and to pull me back from that reading slump. Tip number 4. Enlist the help of a friend. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Ask a friend to help you by reading along with you. Buddy read a book with a friend, and as you discuss, as you talk about the book chapter by chapter, or however you are planning to schedule it, it will bring you back, it will make you fall into a groove, and it will make you want to read more. It's a tried and tested method. It worked for me, and I hope that it will work for you as well. Buddy reads are good. They will help keep you motivated because you have a friend along with you on your journey, and that's a great way to beat the living hell out of that reading slump. Tip number 5. Enlist the help of multiple readers. Join a book club, because now you have that community kind of thing, that camaraderie that you have, and then you feel that, oh my god, I'm not alone in this, there are so many other people. So if you're going through a reading slump right now, this tip I think is a great way to let you know that we have a book club which you can join. I, along with Shruti from Fandom Newbie and Meera from Meera Nair, we have started the Bookbound Book Club, the announcement for which went up on 6th of May, and we will be reading books every 1.5 months and have a live show discussion towards the end of that period. And the first set of books that we will be reading for this book club is Percy Jackson, the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and I think that's a great way to start it off. So if you are looking for something like this, if you're looking for motivation, etc, 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 then Bookbound Club, go join. And you can also find other book clubs that are there which read fantasy, which read diverse lit, Indian lit. There are a lot of book clubs that if you look close enough you will find, and you can join them. You can, according to your tastes, you can join them and you can read as and when you go. And I think that's a great way to pull yourself out of a reading slump or stop yourself from falling into a slump. Tip number 6. Try audiobooks, because sometimes what happens is the same formats tends to become rather monotonous, and audiobooks are a format in which you are consuming the story but just in a different format. It's like storytelling. It's like your grandparents or your parents telling you a story when you were a child, and you look at them in such awe, right? How is this any different? It's not. So try audiobooks. You can just put on your headphones, sit back, close your eyes, relax, and dive into that story through someone else's voice. And you're not even putting the effort. Your mind voice is not working so hard to tell you, to make you imagine what's going on there, because there is a guide for you and there is someone who is taking you along on this journey. Tip number 7. Try something different. Pick up some book that you've been putting off for way too long. Maybe that's a book that will help get you back in the groove, that will help make you think that, okay, there are different ways in which I can read, not just in the way that I have been reading so far. I mean, there's nothing wrong with reading a particular set of books, but maybe if you diversify, if you look into other genres, into other formats of reading, or anything else, anything different from what you have been doing so far, it might help you in getting you out of that reading slump. I must put out this disclaimer that this might not work all times, but it is definitely worth a try. Tip number 8. Do something that involves books that calms you, other than reading, obviously. It could be making an inventory, it could be reorganizing your bookshelves. Just, reorganizing your bookshelves. Imagine yourself running your hands over the, spines and the covers and reading the blurbs. It would just make you want to dive right back in. And then it could be doing book photography, it could be buying books, it could be setting up that reading nook that you've been putting off for way too long. It could be making a TBR jar where you write down names of all the books that you haven't read so far that are with you, and making a jar out of it. It will remind you that you have this set of books that are waiting for you to read. It might just motivate you. It could be anything in the world that concerns books. Do that and rekindle your love, reignite your love for books and for reading. It might just work. It's worth a try. Tip number 9, read gists of books that you have already read. This will help you recollect the story that you are so fond of, that you fell in love with so much while not exactly reading that book. But you combine this with an earlier point that I said about rereading your favorites, and it will make such a world of a difference. It will remind you what exactly about reading it is that you really love. You go through that whole story again. But in short, last but not the least, is try graphic novels or comics. I've already mentioned this in an earlier point, but I wanted to do a separate point for this because of how easy it is to read graphic novels or comics when compared to actual novels written in prose, because these are books that have representations, visual representations of what the words are talking about, and they are dialogue, and there are just short descriptions and all of that, and it will help you a lot. I would recommend try Sarah Anderson's comics and also graphic novels like Persepolis and Mouse and Watchmen, but there are more which I haven't discovered yet. I really want to get into more of graphic novels, but they are a great way to beat your reading slumps, because most graphic novels and comics these days, they are listed on Goodreads as well. So if you're worried that your reading challenge might not include these, it might not take these, there's nothing to worry about. You could also try Tinkles and the comics that you find, any kind of comics. It doesn't just have to be like Sarah Anderson's comics or the digital comics that you find these days. Go back to your childhood. So those were the 10 tips that I had for you to get out of your reading slump. But the most important tip that I will reiterate is that if you are in a reading slump, if you find yourself in a reading slump, then please go easy on yourself. Do not force yourself. Do not make it more difficult than it already is. Just give yourself time. Be patient with yourself. And once you think that you are maybe ready to go dive back into the world, fictional worlds, then just try picking out easy reads and all of that. That is very important. You don't want to kill your love for reading by forcing it. So what did you think of this video? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What are some tips that you use to pull yourself out of a reading slump? And do you think any of these tips will help you in pulling you out of your reading slump? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.